I cannot believe I have not talked about this out of all the years I've had this channel. Substitutes. Uh-oh, everybody just cringed when I said the word substitutes. Listen, I don't deal with substitutes anymore since I work here at the college, but I'm going to tell you, I had my 19 years of experience of dealing with substitutes, and I know the nightmare of that and what that's like. So I'm going to talk about substitutes a little bit, but let me know in the comments your thoughts about substitutes, what you have dealt with substitutes. What is the system now that is in place where you work to get a substitute? You know, when I started doing this 24 years ago, we had a list. They would give us a list from central office, and you had these phone numbers, and you had to physically pick up the phone and call and talk to someone about getting a sub. And God, I hated that with a passion, man. It was so hard. And when you was sick and you was at home, you didn't feel like calling 20 people and talking to them. I mean, when you couldn't hardly hold your head up, you definitely didn't want to talk to anybody. All you wanted to do was go to sleep. But you done your custodial duty to be that team player for your school, so you're going to man up and call those subs when you don't feel like it. You know, when you're trying to get a sub because you want to be off for a day or two, take a trip or take some vacation time, and you go through that list, and that's when the pressure's on because you're trying to find a sub for when you know you're going to be out. I had this one sub, man. I really hated to call because her husband, he couldn't have been a happy guy. You know, I'd call her, her name was Ruby, and he'd, Ruby! He'd just start screaming and say, there's some guy on the phone from the school. And then, I really dreaded that one. That was one of the last resorts that I had, is trying to get her for a sub. But, those warm bodies of people that you're trying to fill that position while you're gone. I've got a lot of sub stories of things that happened when I had subs, but probably one of the biggest ones, we was doing some pressure washing outside in the summer, and I sent the sub around the building to cut the water off, and we had to use a ratchet on this outside spigot because our water key wouldn't work. So ratchet was the only thing that would work to cut this on and off. And, I thought most people knew if you turn to the right, that means to tighten. When you turn to the left, that means to loosen. Well, I said, hey, can you go around there and cut the water off for me? Come running around the building. Says, this thing's spraying water everywhere. Well, I'm thinking, how it sprays out around the hose sometimes. When you cut the water off, and we have them safety valves on our water things to keep stuff from feeding back in the line, that's what I was thinking. That it's just sprayed that amount of water and it's done. I go around there, and there is a stream of water, y'all. I'm talking big old stream of water that is shooting out of this thing, going across the sidewalk, landing in the parking lot. And I'm going, what did you do? I just kept turning that thing, and that thing just come out of the wall. Well, she didn't flip the ratchet to make it turn to the right, and she spun that thing completely out of the wall. And, we shoot thousands of gallons of water before I can get maintenance over there because they was already off for the day, and they had to call a maintenance guy in and had to cut the water off to the building, get that thing screwed back in the wall. That was a nightmare day for a sub. And what makes it really hard for me when I was working with subs is that when your partner was out and they had caught a sub and you was the one that had to work with that sub all day, you suffered. You suffered because they would hide on you, or they would mess more up than they could fix. They would mop a floor and not hardly bring the mop out. They wouldn't change their mop water. Then you had these water spots on the floor. Kids were coming back, and it looked like a swimming pool in the classroom, and just one issue after the other. And I really got to the point, guys, I did. I got to the point, I said, listen, just don't send a sub. Unless somebody's going to be out for 4 or 5 days, I got it. I can handle this. I'd just rather work by myself. I'd rather work a little harder than work with a sub sometime. There was a few times I had some good subs, but they were times that I did not have a good sub. And before I left the school system, it really got better as far as being able to not have to call subs anymore. I think it's probably that way pretty much everywhere now, that we had this automated system through email and different things that would contact subs for us. And you got an email, you either had one or you didn't. So that got better. But just let me know in the comments, what is your experience with substitutes? Good, bad, and ugly. Just keep the language clean, but you can kind of let us know what your experience is. Hey, check this little clip out right here. I made it. It's just a warm body.